Hi everyone, my name is Carly. On this channel, I share videos around personal finance, modeling, and lifestyle. Today, I'll be sharing everything I spent in a month as a 25-year-old single woman living in New York City. I've split out my expenses into more granular categories of rent, travel, business, groceries, shopping, health expenses, restaurants, and coffee. For background, my income streams include income through my salaried job working in tech. I also work as a model in the city, and I do have passive income through investments which are unrealized gains, so I don't really count that in my cash flow. And with that, here are my expenses. Starting with my overhead expenses, rent and utilities summed up to be $2,580.48. My rent is $24.75 for a studio apartment, and I count Wi-Fi and electric as part of my utilities costs. Wi-Fi stays the same on a monthly basis. I think it's around $45, but my utilities will fluctuate depending on the month. It's generally higher in the summer months because I just put on my AC. And rent accounted for 53.4% of my expenses this month. My recurring purchases summed up to $458.98. These include monthly subscription, transportation, it includes the cost of laundry, so me going to a laundromat, my Spotify subscription, my gym subscription is also included in this. Basically, these are the recurring expenses that keep my standard of living the way it is. The bulk of the cost here is my gym membership, which is $275. This is expensive for me, and I don't know if I'll continue paying this, but we'll see in the coming months. I also load about $150 into my transportation card for the subway on a monthly basis. And this is pre-tax, but just for simplicity, I count this as $150 in this category. So recurring purchases accounted for 9.5% of my total expenditure this month. I spent a total of $614.70 for travel. I put a deposit down for a trip that I'll be taking during the summer with a tour group to Mongolia. I expect to pay more in future months as I pay the rest of the cost of the trip, as well as insurance, supplies, and airfare. So travel was 12.7% of my overall expenditure this month. Business also accounted for a good chunk of my expenses this month as well, at $387.91. This is the month that I started paying to outsource my editing, and I was trialing several different editors. It also included buying a domain name, a Google plugin called Keywords Everywhere, as well as an editing subscription I use to cut out mistakes in between my takes. And these are the expenses that I expect to write off when I do taxes next year. It is a lot, but I am trying to scale my business, and I wouldn't be able to expand without these tools and also outsourcing my editing. So in total, business accounted for 8% of my expenses this month. My groceries total this month was $347.02. This is spread out between Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, an Asian grocery store, as well as buying fruit from the fruit stands on the street, where I can generally get cheaper berries. This averages out to roughly $86 a week on groceries, which I think is pretty decent. I mostly eat vegetarian, so this does make my grocery bill a little bit cheaper as well. More recently, I have been trying to cut back on grocery expenses because I'm spending a bit more in the business category than I usually do. I've just been making simpler meals by using up what's in my fridge already, and overall buying fewer snacks. It is easier because I live alone and I eat pretty simple meals by myself. But overall, I don't really limit myself. If I do want to try a recipe, I will buy the ingredients to do. So groceries accounted for 7.2% of my overall spending this month. This month, I spent $183.37 on shopping. It mostly consisted of gifts, some skincare items for myself, and also I think some makeup items, some kitchenware stuff too. And this category kind of varies on a month-to-month basis. So shopping accounted for 3.8% of expenses this month. I spent $125.09 on medical expenses this month. I've been trying to get my acne under control, so I visited a dermatologist and purchased a couple of products from the pharmacy that they prescribed to me. This is a cost that I could reimburse through my HSA account, and I haven't fully decided whether I'll do that yet. I'm leaning toward no because it's nice to just let my HSA funds grow tax-free. So medical expenses made up 2.6% of my purchases this month. I spent $77.13 on dining out this month. This was primarily a couple of dinners, buying some snacks outside, and desserts with friends. My restaurant expenses were quite low this month, and I think that's primarily because a lot of my social activities were gatherings at friends' homes and hanging around with friends in the city. So restaurants accounted for 1.6% of my spending this month. I have a separate section for coffee because I feel like this is the highest number of transactions I made this this month. I spent $57.43 on coffee this month. I'm pretty happy with that figure. I spend a good amount of time working from coffee shops a lot, and it's something I like to buy for myself as a treat when I explore the city too, so I don't think too much about it. I will also sometimes get half off coffee because I have the Capital One Venture X card. So whenever I go to a Capital One cafe, any drinks are half off. So that saves me a lot of money in this category as well. So with that, coffee accounted for 1.2% of my expenses this month. All of these sections combined brings us to a total of $4,832.11 that I spent this month. $4,800 is a lot of money, and right off the bat, I will say that my rent at $24.75 is quite high. But that's the price I pay for living alone in the city, and I feel like it's worth it to me since I work from home and I film my videos in my apartment. If we look at my expenses outside of rent and utilities, I spent $2,251.63 on everything else. I'm not too mad about that number. About half of that was spent on travel and expanding my business, which I see as expenses that are completely worth it to me. If there was any section I would cut back on, it might be recurring expenses. I realize that my gym costs on a monthly basis are quite high as well. I will say I do make really great use of it. I go very frequently. But with the new expenses of my editor, I am considering pursuing cheaper workout alternatives. I could also cut back on groceries, but food is a huge part of my day, so I'm not gonna stress about that too much. I will be cognizant about cooking cheaper meals when I just need to get myself fed, like during the week. And again, that's just to offset my editing costs, which are quite new. I do feel like my eating out and coffee expenses are already so low for the enjoyment that I get out of them. And I don't really have a set budget for these areas. I just try to be really intentional and enjoy these experiences. This month, I didn't spend any money on Ubers, alcohol, or ordering out services like Uber Eats or Grubhub. This is usually the case, but occasionally I might order an Uber if I'm out really late or far from my apartment. Sometimes I'll hang out at a bar with friends and order a drink, but more recently that hasn't been the case. I think I saved a good amount of money here because these are areas that add up really quickly for me. Overall though, I try not to be so focused on cutting back on spending, given that I think I already live a pretty minimalistic life in New York. I'm comfortable, and I think if I made it even more minimalistic, then I would feel like I would be limiting myself, which I don't really want to do. Instead, I'm trying to focus more on increasing my income. So I'm starting to reinvest in my blog, which I'll share more as that comes out. I'm creating videos for YouTube, and I'm focusing on castings for modeling, etc. These are all investments right now with both time and money, but I expect these investments to pay off, and if they don't, then I'll pivot. There you have it, everything I spent this month as a 25-year-old living alone in New York City. If you like this video and you want me to turn it into a series, let me know down below. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you like this video, you might consider checking out this video on a beginner's guide to financial literacy.